I'm not even gonna lie to you, 2025 is gonna feel very different, and maybe not in the most comfortable kind of way. One thing is for certain, in this coming year, we are gonna be experiencing some extreme energy shifts. Think about it this way, and even though it feels like the world has kind of gone to shit in the last couple of years, astrologically speaking, over the last couple of years, things have kind of been in a receptive kind of vibe. It's been more about being rather than doing. However, come 2025, especially in the next couple of months, it's like the alarm clock is gonna go off and it is time to get your ass up. This is gonna be a year of action, all right? And it's really important that you understand the astrology of the year so you know exactly what action to take, all right? So in this video, I'll be discussing everything you need to know about the astrology of 2025, what it means, and most importantly, how best to use the energy, all right? So stick around, you definitely don't wanna miss this. Hello, my loves. As always, I hope that this video finds you well and in excellent spirits. If this is our first time meeting, welcome. My name is Mel. I'm a professional astrologer, sound therapist, and I'm the founder of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. All right, so this is the much coveted video of the year. It is the yearly astro forecast for the year of 2025, all right? We're going to be dealing with a lot in 2025. Like I said in the intro, it's going to feel really different and it might be a little uncomfortable, particularly if you're someone who's not necessarily comfortable with change, with transformations, and with endings, all right? But the one thing that you need to understand is that endings bring new beginnings and chaos breeds creation. And so this is a year that's really setting us up for a very different world that we're going to be experiencing come 2026 and beyond. But 2025 is the year where everything starts to change. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos throughout this year, or even in previous years, especially this past year, 2024, I talked about how 2024 was sort of the build up to 2025. And that can be a little anxiety inducing, right? Because again, it feels like the world has kind of gone to shit. Things are really changing. A lot of the things that we've come to rely on, that we've come to know, are either non-existent anymore, are changing in a way that we don't even recognize. But that's a really good thing, because even though we've come to understand certain things and rely on certain things, it doesn't necessarily mean that they were good. And 2025 gives us the planetary energy to make changes that really make sense for us now and for where we are going into the future. All right, so rather than just giving you the astrological information in a very technical sort of way, I decided to break it up into themes. And so I will be giving you 9 themes that will be playing out over the course of 2025. All right, so without further ado, let's get into it. Before we get into the themes, I figured it would be helpful to give you the quick and dirty on what 2025 is going to feel like, right? This is sort of the Cliff Notes version of the astrology of 2025. So the major thing that 2025 is bringing is the fact that all of the outer planets are going to be moving signs. They're going to be changing signs. So this includes Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and we can throw in Pluto because Pluto just moved into Aquarius permanently in November of 2024. So that's 4 planets changing signs. Now this is a big deal because the outer planets, they're like the heavy hitters. When we talk about planets like Mercury, Venus, Mars, those are known as personal planets. They affect us more on a personal and a more intimate kind of level. However, when we're talking about Saturn and beyond, these are the planets that affect us society-wise and generational-wise. So we really feel the energies of these planets. So it's not even so much that they're changing signs, it's the signs that they're going into. So I mentioned before that the vibe of 2024 and even 2023 was very much like a receptive vibe, right? Because the outer planets were, for the most part, in feminine signs. And feminine energy is receptive. It's about being rather than doing. But now come 2025, these outer planets are going to be moving into masculine signs. especially fire signs. So this is going to be about doing. It's going to be about action. This is what I was talking about when I said it's like the alarm clock is going off and now it's time to take action. All right. So we're moving from like rest to action. And that can feel very jarring, especially if you're someone who is, really used to being in your comfort zone. I'm talking to you, Taurus and Taurus placements. Or if you're someone who's not really comfortable with change. Or if you're someone who's hesitant about taking action, 2025 is probably going to give you a kick in the ass and get you out the door to do some things. All right. So that's really the overview of 2025. So we're moving from receptive to expressive. Okay. Now, the other thing I'll say about 2025 is 2025, it's also kind of a builder year, not necessarily in the way that 2024 was, because in 2025, like I said, we have all those outer planets changing signs, but they're going to be dipping back into their feminine signs. So it's like these outer planets, except for Pluto, they're going to be playing peekaboo a little bit. So they're going to dip into these fire signs and they're going to get us all hot and heavy and ready to take action, only to dip back into their feminine signs for a little bit until 2026. So it's this energy that's going to feel a little unstable. It's going to feel like starting just to stop. It's going to feel like taking a couple of steps forward just to take a couple of steps back. So again, it really speaks to what I was saying before about 2025 being a year of change, right? Of this sort of erratic energy, but most importantly of transformation. And this brings us to our first theme for 2025. Theme number 1, completion but not finality. Universal year 9. So I always love to start with the numerology because the numerology gives us a little more information about the energy at hand, right? And so 2024 was a universal year 8. 8 was all about abundance. It's all about hard work. It's all about achievement and success. And so you may have found that that was a theme that you were either really focused on this past year or a theme that just happened to play out in your life generally. But now we move to a universal year 9, and 9 is the number of completion, but not finality. So essentially it's wrapping up a cycle only to start a new cycle thereafter. Now, apart from just wrapping things up, because we're pretty much already accustomed to that kind of energy, right? Like cycles end, things end, situations end, and then it's time to move on. But the one thing that I want you to understand about the number 9, numerologically speaking, and with the year 2025, is that it's about transformation. I want you to think about a snake shedding its skin. Perhaps this coming year will show you what you have outgrown. It may show you what no longer serves you. It may show you what has run its course, right? It's sort of like when you get flowers. Now, I'm a flower girly. I love to receive flowers. I love looking at flowers. And when you first get them, there's this excitement and there's this feeling of contentment, right? Because they're in full bloom, or maybe they're not even in full bloom yet, but you get to enjoy them. But then what happens when the flowers start to wilt and then ultimately when they die? And especially when you haven't gotten rid of them, when they've died, they just look decrepit. The leaves have fallen off. Maybe it's created a mess where you have the vase. It's time to clean that up and, clean up the vase so that you can put in new flowers. And that is what 2025 is about. All right. And so there is this need to let things go. That's going to be important this coming year. Like if something has run its course, it's time to get rid of it. If something no longer serves you, it's time to put it down. It's time to prepare for a new cycle. Now, with what I said before about 2025 being sort of an action-oriented year, it's sort of like the action that you may be urged to take is ending something, like being proactive about ending something, or it might be about being proactive about taking the steps to start something new, or it may be a combination of the two, like really doing what you need to do to finish something, to wrap something up, while at the same time taking the steps to start something new. That's very emblematic of a universal 9 year, all right? Now, also inherent in the number 9 is this element of wisdom, right? Because if we're ending a cycle, clearly cycles, depending on what it is, cycles can last a while, right? And within a cycle are a plethora of learning lessons. And so by the time that we get to the end of the cycle, if you're conscious and if you've been paying attention, you've learned a lot, right? You've gained wisdom through experience. You've understood what works because you've understood what hasn't worked. And it's this wisdom that we're carrying into the future. It's this wisdom that we're using to create this new beginning and enter this new cycle that 2026 is going to usher in. So apart from just taking action steps to end things and begin new things, I definitely want you to take advantage of the energy by reflecting on what you've learned. 2025 is going to require a little bit of reflection so that you can understand the wisdom that you've gained, so that you could use it to go into the next cycle, to open new doors and step into new rooms with new situations and new people. Now, in terms of the astrology associated with the number 9, we've got 2 fire signs. The number 9 is associated with Aries and Sagittarius. Now, Sagittarius is the 9th sign of the zodiac, so that makes sense, right? But the number 9 is also associated with Aries. So there's this energy of action. There's this energy of combat. There's this energy of confrontation. Both of these fire signs are very much concerned with being expressive, stating your opinion, fighting for what you believe in, and taking action to go into a different stratosphere. So if there's nothing else that you gain from this video, right? This is going to be a year of action. It's a year of fire. Okay. And so it's really important to understand that this isn't a year to sit on your ass and do nothing. If you believe in something, if you want something, right, especially with Aries, because Aries is about our desires and our passions, this is the year to take steps to go after it. This is a year to be optimistic because that's part of the Sagittarius energy signature. Optimistic about where you're going. Listen, whatever has transpired in the past, it's done. That's what the number 9 is about. Number 9 is like, listen, what happened, happened. There's no sense in trying to change the past. There's no sense in trying to hold on to the past. We've got places to go. We've got goals to achieve, and we're fired up about it. All right. And so this is what the number 9 is all about. But apart from that, when it comes to the tarot, the number 9 is associated with the Hermit. So understand, this is a solitary job. The Hermit withdraws. The Hermit is a recluse in order to gain enlightenment. And this speaks to the wisdom I was talking about before, inherent in the energy signature of the number 9. It's not just about taking reckless action or just being impulsive, as Aries can sometimes be. But the number 9 is like, listen, my actions are guided by the wisdom that I've gained over the course of this cycle. And I've got to do it alone. So this may be a year that requires you to shut out the noise, shut out the people, really focus on yourself. Because here's the thing. With all of this fire energy that we're going to be experiencing in 2025, think of it as like a minefield. There's going to be a shit ton of distractions, whole bunch of fires to put out, fireworks going off, whole bunch of shit, right? That can get you off your path. The one thing that the Hermit knows is that, listen, if there's too much going on, I've got to sequester myself. It's about me and my enlightenment. I got to quiet all that noise, get away from all these people, and do what I need to do. The Hermit card is associated with the sign of Virgo, and Virgo knows this best. Virgo has a very short battery life when it comes to really being out in public and really being with people and being out there. This may be a year where, as much as there is going on externally, you're going to have to recharge your social battery. You're going to have to recharge and sequester yourself, be a recluse for a little bit, so that you can take the actions that make sense. This isn't about senseless action. This isn't a time to be taking, like I said, impulsive actions or knee-jerk reactions even. You got to take the right actions. And so inherent in the number 9 is the wisdom, is the reclusiveness, and is the drive and motivation to take the actions that you need to take for yourself going into the future. Theme number 2, serve or suffer, nodal shift. So we kick off the year in January, right? And on January 29th, the North Node is going to be moving into Pisces and the South Node will be moving into Virgo. Now, when we talk about the nodes, we're talking about where the eclipses happen. And essentially, the meaning of the nodes is that they denote where we are headed, aka our North Node, and sort of where we're moving away from, aka our South Node, all right? So over the last 18 months, the North Node has been in Aries and the South Node has been in Libra. Now that energy has felt very warlike because the axis of Aries and Libra has a lot to do with war versus peace. So we're kind of moving away from that and we're moving into another 18-month cycle that really has a lot to do with healing. Now, Virgo and Pisces are known as the service signs, right? They are the signs that give service, either on a very mundane and practical level, aka Virgo, or on a humanitarian level like Pisces. It's also this dichotomy between what's real and sort of what is fantasy, what we can prove by evidence, and what we have to believe based on faith, all right? So these are the themes that are going to play out when the nodes shift into Pisces and Virgo, all right? So the last time that this happened was back in June 2006 to December 2007. So you may want to reflect back to that time in your life to kind of figure out how this is going to be for you, how it's going to feel, etc. However, like I said, the main theme of this particular astrological event is going to be healing. It's also going to be this move away from things that we can prove, things that we know based on evidence, and we're moving to a place of faith in the unseen, of this sort of esoteric and very spiritual kind of energy. Now, I call this theme serve or suffer because Pisces and Virgo are the service signs, like I said before. So there's also going to be an emphasis on service. Now, when we're talking about Pisces North Node, this kind of has a flavor of what are you here to do? What is your life purpose? What should you be doing in service to humanity? I think that over the next 18 months, as the North Node gets very comfortable in Pisces, this is a question that a lot of people are going to be faced with and that they're going to be tasked to answer, all right? And so when we're talking about Virgo and Pisces, it's one of those things where if you don't serve, you suffer. And I know that Pisces placements and Virgo placements know this all too well. So it's not just about, oh, this is my life purpose and I'm going to sit on it. With the North Node in Pisces, it's going to be like, listen, this is your task as it relates to humanity. And with this being an action-oriented year, you're going to be pushed to take actions in service to humanity. Now, this is definitely a generalization of the energy. You're going to want to look at your particular natal chart and the transits of 2025 in order to understand what kind of service you're going to need to engage in. And if you are interested, you should book a reading with me. My 2025 year ahead reading will give you all the information that you need in order to understand how this transit is going to affect you. But just remember, serve or suffer. Theme number 3. Mind, body, and spirit, 2025 eclipses. So this builds on theme number 2, because like I said before, the nodes, the North Node and the South Node are where the eclipses happen. So over the course of 2025, we're going to be experiencing eclipses in Pisces and Virgo. So if you have any personal planets in those signs and on or around the degrees where the eclipses will occur, you guys are going to feel this the most. All right, as well as the other 2 mutable signs, which are Gemini and Sagittarius. All right, so when it comes to the eclipses, we are starting a new story while wrapping up an old story. So like I said, in 2024, the nodes were in Aries and Libra. And in 2025, in the spring, we're going to be wrapping up that story or that saga, right? If you've watched any of my eclipse videos, you'll know that the eclipses are like an ongoing story. And the story plays out over 18 months until the next set of eclipses in those same signs. So whatever story was playing out for you with the eclipses in Aries and Libra, we're wrapping that up in spring of 2025. But then by and large, there are going to be 3 other eclipses within the year of 2025 that occur in Pisces and Virgo. So we're starting up this Pisces-Virgo story. And to know what the story is, you're going to look at your natal chart and see what houses govern Pisces and Virgo. This is where you're going to be experiencing erratic energy. This is where you're going to have things eclipsed into your life, aka a solar eclipse, or things being eclipsed out of your life, aka a lunar eclipse. All right, so these are the eclipses and the dates for the eclipses in 2025. So the first eclipse is happening on March 14th, and this is a total lunar eclipse in Virgo. So at that time, wherever Virgo is in your natal chart, this is where things are going to be eclipsed out. And essentially, it's going to expose what we need to release. Things that have kept us grounded, things that have kept us really mired in the details are going to be eclipsed out of our life at that time. And then on March 29th, we are going to have a partial solar eclipse in Aries. And this is wrapping up that Aries-Libra story that we experienced in the late part of 2023 into 2024. Now, Aries is all about new beginnings. And with a solar eclipse in Aries, it's like whatever that story that has played out concerning Aries and Libra, now we're going to be starting something new based off how that story played out. And so this is going to be wrapping up the Aries-Libra axis, and it's the last chance to start something new, something that perhaps you're really passionate about, something that you're really motivated towards, and something that really has a lot that's very personal to you. Aries is a selfish sign. And so at this solar eclipse in Aries, it's really going to be about, okay, what do I want? What do I need? You get to be a little selfish, which is cool. So those are the spring eclipses. So now let's move into the autumn eclipses. And the first of the autumn eclipses is happening on September 7th. And this is happening in Pisces. It's going to be a total lunar eclipse in Pisces. And this is going to expose where we need to have faith, where things are wrapping up. And it's also going to reveal some sort of prophecy, something that is fated, something that is, has a very spiritual element to it. It's going to reveal an important prophecy. So that's going to be a really interesting eclipse. And then the final eclipse for 2025 is happening on September 21st. And this is going to be a partial solar eclipse in the sign of Virgo. This is going to be all about new beginnings that are of a concrete or practical nature, and that we can immediately implement into our daily lives. All right. So it's going to be this new thing that we can do to either get a little more organized, get a little more efficient, and something that we can readily use that's of a practical nature in our daily lives. And of course, as the year progresses, I'll be giving a lot more information on these individual eclipses, but that's just a basic overview of what's happening eclipse-wise in 2025. Theme number 4, rest to relaunch, retrogrades in fire signs. So, like I said before, 2025 is a year that's going to be full of fire, right? We've got most of the outer planets moving into fire signs, or at least fire and air signs, which again are masculine signs, hence expression, action, all that good stuff, right? But specifically, the planets that are going retrograde, and those are Mercury, Venus, and Mars, will all be retrograde in fire signs. And essentially what this means, and what it feels like, is that it's going to be a time where you don't take action. It's going to be a time where you rest, you recalibrate, and most importantly, you recharge your batteries so that when these planets go direct in these fire signs, you have the energy, the physical, the mental, the spiritual, the emotional energy to take action and to move forward. All right. So first, let's talk Mercury retrograde. So Mercury will be retrograde in all 3 of the fire signs over the course of the year. So between March 15th and April 7th, Mercury will be retrograde in Aries, and it will dip back into Pisces. Then from July 18th through August 11th, Mercury will retrograde in the sign of Leo. Thereafter, in November, from November 9th through November 29th, Mercury will retrograde in Sagittarius. And so again, this is going to be the time when You're not necessarily doing the most communication wise. It may be a time where you need to shut the hell up, right? Shut the hell up and conserve your voice. This may be a time when, you plan and strategize so that you can take action when Mercury goes direct, okay? Next, let's talk about Venus. Now, Venus does not go retrograde every year. It didn't go retrograde in 2024. However, it will be going retrograde in 2025, and it will be retrograde from March 2nd through April 13th. And it will begin its retrograde in the sign of Aries. Now, when Venus is direct in Aries, it's about the thrill of the chase, right? It's about going after what you want, whether it's relationship-wise, whether it's money-wise. It's this very active, expressive, and ambitious kind of energy. But when Venus is retrograde in Aries, this is like you put down your hunting tools and you rest, right? I'm not a hunting connoisseur or anyone who's really been hunting like that. But from what I understand and what I've seen, it's not always the case where you're shooting at things. Sometimes you gotta really be quiet, be still. Maybe that's why they wear that camouflage, so to not be seen, right? And you're kind of just looking around, you're strategizing, you're waiting for the prey, essentially. And so when Venus is retrograde in Aries, that's kind of what we're doing. We're laying in wait until it's time to shoot our shot, all right? Ooh, I like that analogy. Then we've also got Mars retrograde. Now, Mars retrograde began at the tail end of 2024 in December. And it will continue its retrograde cycle from January 1st through February 24th. Now, for most of January, Mars will be retrograde in the sign of Leo, okay? And again, this is a time of conserving your energy, literally, because Mars is the planet of physical force and energy. So it's going to be a time where you don't do the most. It's a time when you are really not taking action and you are recharging your batteries, all right? Yes, it's a time of energy conservation in action, recharging your batteries, and it plays into the theme of action for the year. It's about wrapping things up. We're getting ready to start a new cycle, and these retrogrades give you the time to really sit and think like, okay, I'm getting quiet now. I'm not really doing anything. What do I want? What kind of actions do I want to take? What kind of actions do I need to take going into the future? So 2025's retrogrades of Mercury, Venus, and Mars will allow you to do just that. Theme number 5, radical ideas, Neptune in Aries. So I try to do these things kind of in chronological order, in the order in which they're occurring in the year. And so the first of the outer planets to shift signs is going to be Neptune. Now, Neptune has been in its home sign of Pisces for a while. It's been in Pisces since the tail end of 2011. And so I want you to think about what life has been like since 2011, okay? One of the major themes of Neptune in Pisces has been spirituality and how spirituality has become mainstream. How so many people have sort of left organized religion and they're experiencing and exploring spirituality and the personal benefits that it bestows upon us, right? Astrology has become mainstream again. We've got meditation, manifestation, affirmations. It's very much Neptune in Pisces energy, okay? Which is great because it really allowed us to do that inner work. Pisces is a feminine sign. So like I said in the intro, it's that receptive kind of energy. It's that inner work. And now that Neptune is going to be moving into Aries, and it's not going to be in Aries for the entirety of 2025. It's only going to be in Aries from March 30th through October 22nd. So it's going to be dipping back and forth between Pisces and Aries. But once it is in Aries, Neptune in Aries is like, all right, all that inner work that you've done, now it's time to take action on it. Now it's time to put your money where your mouth is. All right, cool. You're into meditation. You're into spirituality. Now use it in your life. Apply it. Don't just read about it. It's time to take that inner work. And if you've been doing that inner work, you will likely emerge as a new person. And now it's time to take this new person out for a spin, which should be extremely interesting. All right. So like I said, we're putting those newly found ideals into action in a bold, dynamic, risky and maybe even reckless kind of way. Because the energy signature of Aries is like knee-jerk reactions, just doing things, being impulsive, listening to your instincts and just acting on them, like at a moment's notice sometimes. That Aries energy is also very much about, this is what I want to do, so I'm going to do it, not really caring what anybody thinks. And so I feel like we're going to see a rise in people really taking their spirituality and spiritual practices to the next level, okay? Now, Neptune in Pisces was also great for things like media and film. Neptune is at home in Pisces, and Neptune rules media and film. And so now I feel like all of that inner work that we've done individually and collectively, we're going to start to see a lot more of that really pushed out into the mainstream media come the time that Neptune goes into Aries. So that should be really interesting to see as well. All right. It's also the courage to really build your dreams, take action on your dreams. Neptune in Pisces is great for prophecies, or it has been great for prophecies. And so during the Neptune transit through Pisces, this may have been a time when you really started to understand your place in the world, what you're here to do, your life purpose, and how perhaps your spirituality, your faith, your religion, or your spiritual practices play into that purpose. And so now it's time to take action on those prophecies. Could feel a little scary, but understand this is like spirit. Okay, this just came to me and I love this. Neptune in Pisces has been like the egg that has hatched, right? In the sense that, let's say you are a bird. I don't know what species, just a bird. And, you know, the mother bird laid her egg, she built a nest, and Neptune in Pisces has been that nurturing that the mother, Big Mama, has given us. Right? Spiritual wise, faith wise, that nurturing, that inner work, that warm nest, that has been Neptune in Pisces. Now come Neptune in Aries, that mama bird is going to kick you out of the nest, and you kind of have to learn how to fly on your way down. So may feel a little jarring, right? Really taking this new self out for a spin, but it's got to be done. And Neptune in Aries is definitely going to help you do that. And so Neptune, once it goes permanently into Aries, it will remain permanently in Aries from January 2026 until March of 2039. So these outer planets, they're getting warmed up in their new signs in 2025. And then when they move permanently, that move is going to be for a long time. And so we're going to have ample opportunity to take our inner work and express it out into the world. But that expression begins in 2025. This is why it is super important for you to understand what you have learned over the last year, over the last decade, especially if we're talking about Neptune in Pisces, right? So that you can start implementing that into your life and expressing yourself as this newly healed person. Neptune in Pisces also fostered and facilitated a lot of inner healing. And so now many of us, it's not to say that you're going to be healed completely. Healing isn't linear. It's more cyclical, if we're being honest. But you're kind of taking this newly healed version of yourself out into the world and expressing yourself in that way. So many of the people that we've come to know, they may change up. We may see them in a new light, in the light of the Creator. We may see them healed, right? Hopefully they did the work while Neptune was in Pisces, but we're going to see a lot of newer kind of people emerging who have a greater sense of spiritual knowledge, a higher level of consciousness, and not necessarily dealing with those societal ills that we've all been suffering from in the past. So it's going to be really interesting to see who emerges when Neptune goes into Aries. It's definitely going to be seriously interesting times. Theme number 6, personal accountability, Saturn in Aries. All right. So both Saturn and Neptune are currently, as I film this, in the sign of Pisces. So first, Neptune will move into Aries, and then Saturn will follow. So Saturn will be in the sign of Aries from May 24th until September 1st. All right. Now, I call this personal accountability because Saturn is like the taskmaster. It's the disciplinarian. And in a sign like Aries that just wants to be reckless and do whatever it feels and whatever it wants, Saturn is like, no. Understand that number one, there are consequences to your actions. And number two, and I think most importantly about Saturn and Aries, it's all about taking calculated risks. Okay. Aries starts shit. It's the fire starter. It's the initiator. And Aries wants to do it in a way that's like, this is how I feel. This is what I want to do. Fuck you. I don't care what you think. This is what I need. All of that. And Saturn is like, let's rein it in a little bit. We're going to take a risk with this, but let's examine our environment. Let's see what's really good before we just jump off a cliff, right? And it's also about personal accountability. Yes, you could be as reckless as you want to be. And that's sometimes how Aries likes it. But Saturn is like, understand that recklessness is going to cost you somewhere down the line. And you're going to have to pay the price for it. All right. So, like I said, Saturn will be in Aries from May 24th to September 1st. There's also playing this peekaboo kind of energy. So it's a sneak peek of what is to come 2026. So let's talk about Saturn in Pisces. So Saturn first entered Pisces in very early of 2023. So 2 and some odd change years, Saturn has been in Pisces. And that has been giving structure to our dreams, right? Pisces is dreams, fantasies. It's like I said, it's very esoteric, spiritual. It's about prophecies, right? And we all know prophecies. You don't read prophecies like a book. It's like things spoken in metaphors and parables and all of that. Luckily, Saturn in Pisces has given form and structure to our dreams and to our prophecies. It's like, okay. The other day, I had a bed rot day, right? Where I literally stayed in bed all day and it was best thing ever. And so I watched a bunch of movies on Netflix. And one of the movies I watched was the story of Mary. And I love this because the Bible doesn't really talk about what happened to Mary before she gave birth to Jesus, right? And this basically gave her whole story, which was dope. It's definitely a must-see movie. Not for the religious factor, but just how the universe works. Beautiful. But anyway, Mary was given not only the prophecy that she was going to give birth to Jesus, right? But her whole entire life was a prophecy that she did not understand. It was like Angel Gabriel came and spoke to her parents and told her parents that they were going to have a girl and they needed to do this with her and she needed to do this, that, and the third. And it's like an angel comes down to you and tells you some shit. And it's like, what? Like, whatever. But Saturn in Pisces gives you practical steps that are in alignment with your prophecy. I feel like that's the best explanation of Saturn in Pisces. And so now we understand what the bigger picture is. And Saturn in Pisces allowed us to understand what practical steps we need to take, what real world steps we need to take to fulfill that prophecy. Now that Saturn is moving into Aries, Saturn is like, all right, I gave you like the GPS. It's now time for you to get in the car and drive to the destination based on the directions in the GPS. And that GPS is your highest self. It's your inner world. It's a GPS nonetheless. So now Saturn in Aries is like, now we're taking action steps toward the fulfillment of this prophecy. Beautiful. But also understand that some of these action steps may not necessarily make sense. Some of these action steps may be difficult. They may be challenging. You may be thinking, what does this have to do with the bigger picture? This makes no sense in the present. But Saturn as a disciplinarian knows, listen, I know this is difficult. I know this is hard, but you got to do it because it's going to take you to that destination. Okay, so let's see what else we have. So we go from Saturn in Pisces, which is introspection, to Saturn in Aries, which is initiative, okay? Having the courage to build new structures and systems in our lives, taking calculated risks. And also, this is also very important, it's going from victim to warrior. Pisces energy is very much associated with the martyr. It's the sacrificial lamb. Everything is happening to me. The reason why I call this thing personal accountability is because now with Saturn in Aries, it's like, listen, understand that you are in charge of creating your reality. You are in charge of taking the action steps that create your reality. And Aries is the warrior. So you've got to defend that reality. You have to be proactive about it. You have to be action oriented when it comes to this reality that you're creating and this prophecy that you are fulfilling. All right. So Saturn comes with challenges. It comes with obstacles. That's just par for the course. We are spiritual beings having a human experience here in this 3D earth. So challenges, delays, obstacles, it comes with the territory. However, Saturn in Aries is like, all right, we're going to do this new thing. It might suck. It might be difficult, but it's ultimately taking us to where we need to go. Theme number 7, King of the Castle, Jupiter in Cancer. All right. So Jupiter spends about a year in each sign. So typically it changes signs every year. So in 2024, Jupiter entered Gemini. And that is when things got very busy, mixy, multitasky. It had this youthful energy to it. It was all about sort of following your curiosity and all of that good stuff. Now, Jupiter is going to be moving into the sign of its exaltation, Cancer. And essentially, when a planet is in its sign of exaltation, it is where it is treated like a king or a queen. Hence why I call this King of the Castle. And the energy of that planet becomes super potent. This is great because Jupiter is the planet of abundance. Okay, so this is a year where we can really tap into the energy of abundance. Now, Jupiter will not be in Cancer for most of the year. As a matter of fact, it's going to be entering Cancer on June 9th. So it's really, this energy that I'm about to talk about is really going to be happening at the end, the second half of 2025. However, this is going to feel like a very dynamic energy shift because in Gemini, it's very expressive, it's very mixy, it's very all over the place, it's very social. Jupiter in Cancer is a lot quieter. It's more demure, okay, as if that word hasn't been overused in 2024. But it's a lot quieter, it's a lot more, okay, think of Jupiter in Gemini was like a toddler running around outside, running down the street, just being outside. And Jupiter in Cancer is like hunkering down and staying at home, okay? So the other thing to understand is that Jupiter was not well placed in Gemini. It was actually in the sign of its detriment. So every planet has a home sign. When it is in the sign that is opposite its home sign, it's known as its detriment. So when a planet is in detriment, it's like being at somebody else's house and that person doesn't really like you. Not only do they not like you, they're kind of treating you like shit. So you have to work a little extra hard to get whatever it is that you need. So with Jupiter in Gemini, it may have been all over the place, but when it came to abundance, we probably had to work a little harder to get what it is that we needed or wanted. Now, with Jupiter entering Cancer, abundance is going to be a lot more free-flowing. It's like the faucet is going to be turned on, in a sense, when it comes to abundance, all right? So Jupiter in Cancer is going to highlight issues related to home, ancestry, homeland, our basic emotional needs, security. All of these things are going to be emphasized. So when it comes to things like love, acceptance, feeling safe and secure, right? Our basic emotional needs. That is where we're going to find our abundance. So if you're looking to have more abundance in your life, when Jupiter does enter Cancer, it's not going to be about doing the most and being social and being out there. That was Jupiter in Gemini. Jupiter in Cancer is like the feelings of abundance, feeling abundant, feeling secure, feeling stable are going to be how you amass abundance, at least in the second half of 2025. All right. Making big picture plans in the house in your natal chart that is ruled by Cancer is going to be a thing for you when Jupiter moves into Cancer. So check your natal chart and see which house Cancer is in. And then finally, you're going to be getting a much better understanding of home and family. Where is home? What does home feel like? Who is family? Right? These are the questions that Jupiter in Cancer is going to help you answer. And the answers might surprise you, especially as we enter 2026. So again, abundance is going to be on tap in 2025. More towards the second half of the year. However, it's going to be about feeling abundant and having your basic emotional needs met. Theme number 8, mental breakthroughs. Uranus in Gemini. So, the last of the outer planets that will switch signs in 2025 is Uranus, okay? And Uranus has been in the sign of Taurus since 2018. And Uranus will move into Gemini from July 7th until November 7th. So it's another planet that's going to be playing peekaboo in 2025, okay? So it's also a sneak peek of what is to come in 2026 and beyond. So let's talk about Uranus and Taurus, okay? So since 2018, you can say that Uranus has been wreaking havoc in Taurus. Taurus is a fixed sign, right? The bull. It's very hard to move a bull. And Uranus in Taurus has been shaking us out of our comfort zone. It's been making us uncomfortable. It's been forcing us to listen to our intuition. And it's been making us do things that we normally wouldn't do. Things that literally take us out of comfort, okay? Think of it as like a bull in a china shop, a raging bull in a china shop at that. So think about the house where Uranus is in your natal chart. This is probably where you've been experiencing some erratic changes, surprises, sudden endings or beginnings. I like to call Uranus the hand of God. It can be chaotic, but it can really be profound, right? And it's also a planet with an energy signature of rebellion. It's about bucking the status quo. It's about really paving your own way in a way, right? So Uranus and Taurus taking you literally out of your comfort zone. Now, the energy signature of Uranus in Gemini is quite different. You know, Taurus is very planted. It's very practical. So Uranus and Taurus really shook us out of our comfort zones in a practical way with respect to everyday things. Now what's going to be shaken up come Uranus and Gemini is our thoughts. Most importantly, Uranus and Gemini is about mental breakthroughs. It's about a new way of thinking. It's about a new way of learning. It's about a new way of communicating. It's about a new way of transacting with people, okay? Rapid development and total disruptions. That is Uranus and Gemini, right? Now, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but Pluto is in Aquarius, and Aquarius and Gemini are both air signs. When you have Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in Gemini, this is literally the energy of disruption. It's the energy of mental breakthroughs that lead to crazy new inventions. The way that we communicate with each other, the way that we talk to each other, the way that we relate to each other is going to change completely. And we've started to see this already. Right? We're in the age of Aquarius. The inventions that are coming out, the way that we're using AI and technology on a daily basis is something that 5 years ago we kind of couldn't even fathom. And now it's a part of our daily lives. And so expect more disruptions, expect more mental breakthroughs, expect to be able to communicate with people that perhaps you were not able to communicate with before. This is all going to be very groundbreaking, very futuristic even, but it could also feel very jarring. On a personal level, Uranus in Gemini, it's like your nervous system blowing out, right? Short-circuiting even. So you have to be really mindful of things like anxiety, things like doubt, because Uranus and Gemini could really shake that up, could really rattle that up, and it could really derail you in a sense. And I'm not saying this to scare you, but you need to prepare for what perhaps could come, okay? This is about breaking free from outdated systems. This is like jailbreaking your mind, essentially, right? Which super cool, super futuristic, but can be a little scary because we're entering uncharted territory, especially mentally, especially communication-wise. And so this At the time that I'm filming this, there's so much news about UFOs and drones and all of this stuff. That is only going to ramp up, especially as Uranus makes its way into Gemini. So expect more communication, perhaps from different species, different entities. Like, this is about to be a wild ass ride, okay? New ways of thinking that can take us into the future, and radical changes to education. Now, this is a hot button topic because, at least here in the United States, with the incoming administration, they're talking about dismantling the Department of Education. This is very much a Uranus in Gemini with a Pluto in Aquarius flavor, okay? Dismantling doesn't necessarily mean the worst. I mean, depending on how you feel about the incoming administration, it could, but this is about radicalization. So I wouldn't be surprised if going forward, I see homeschooling becoming the absolute norm, different ways of education. I mean, how many of us have taken a course on something, right, online, specific skills that we're picking up, whether it's, trading, whether it's e-commerce, whatever it is, we're going to see a lot more of that. And again, jailbreaking the way that we think, the way that we learn, could be a little scary, but the future is now. And we're experiencing this on many different fronts. And education is definitely going to be one of those fronts. So buckle up, baby. It's about to be a wild ass ride. Theme number 9, to infinity and beyond. Pluto in Aquarius. All right, so this is a theme that we're experiencing currently because Pluto permanently entered Aquarius in November of 2024. But it's important to reiterate this theme because this is the theme that's playing in the background of everything else that's going on in 2025. Pluto in Aquarius is moving us into the future, point blank, period. So everything that happens in this coming year is a transformation into the future. Remember, I talked about this is a 9 universal year. This is also why I chose 9 themes for this video, but 9 is about transformation. And so Pluto in Aquarius is transforming the way that we think, the way that we associate, the way that we identify with groups, the way that we innovate, the way that we invent, the way that we improve, all to take us into the future. Okay. Significant changes in how we think, innovations, improvements, being an individual within the collective. This is, I think, the hallmark energy signature of Pluto in Aquarius. Let me explain. Aquarius is the sign of the collective. It's the sign of humanity at large. But here's the thing. Aquarius is also fiercely rebellious and very individualistic. So, in high school, when you had all those cliques, right? You had the pretty girls, you had the jocks, you had the nerds, and then you had like the 1 or 2 or maybe a couple outliers who didn't fit into any group. They were really self-confident. They knew who they were. They dressed how they wanted to dress. They weren't really concerned about fitting in. That's the energy of Aquarius. And so when we talk about Aquarius in the collective, we're talking about everyone being like that outlier in high school, but a group of outliers, a group of misfits, right? I think they call it like a motley crew or something like that. So it's like you are part of the collective, and we are also tapped into the consciousness of the collective, but we're still very individualistic. We're expressing ourselves uniquely. We're into what we're into, and we're not afraid to be into what we're into, understanding that this all plays out within the collective. This is what Pluto in Aquarius is trying to get us to be. Yes, we can identify with groups. Yes, we can agree with people on certain things. Yes, we can congregate with people based on certain beliefs, but this is still a solo journey. And we're still our individual selves, and we need to shine as our individual selves, okay? And the last thing I'll say about Pluto in Aquarius is that it's advancing humanity. We are seeing evolution in real time. And I love this for us because now we have the higher level of consciousness to really engage and participate in a meaningful sort of way in our own evolution. We have the tools at our disposal to change. We have been on this manifestation kick since Neptune entered Pisces in 2011, right? So we know what to do to manifest. And now we're doing it. And we're evolving as a species as a result. So you know how in school you learned about the evolution of man, right? From primate to Homo sapien, all of that stuff. We're living it right now. We've always been living it, but this is the first time in the history of humanity we are conscious of it. So shit is about to get really interesting, baby. I love this. Now, again, if you're someone who's not into change and transformation, because understand, Pluto is the planet of transformation. It's death to rebirth. And then over and over again, rinse and repeat. If you're not comfortable with that, this is going to be a year it's not going to feel good. Point blank, period. But we're going into the future. And I absolutely love that for us. It's time to get rid of what doesn't serve us. It's time to have flying cars like the Jetsons. It's time to think of something and it manifests immediately. Not only in our minds, but in our reality. Because we've got all the tools now and all the fun gadgets to make it happen. All right, that's Pluto in Aquarius in a nutshell. All right, my loves. So that's 2025 in a nutshell, astrologically speaking. All right, like I said, change, transformation, going into the future, taking action. That's just a snippet of what 2025 has to offer to us, okay? Don't be scared. I know it feels different. I know it's getting you up. It's getting you active. It's pushing you, maybe even to your limits. But what lies on the other side of this is truly amazing. And we're just getting started. All right, so I will be delineating 2025 by each sign. So you know exactly what to do if you're Aries rising, Sag rising, Leo, it doesn't matter, all right? All of that will be linked below. You know what to do. Everything that you need is in the description below or tagged to this video. My loves, I wish you nothing but the absolute best for 2025 and beyond. We are going into a place we've never been before, and that's a beautiful thing. All right, my loves, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.